5 minute
Hey, here's
man.
a bonus episode. Watch it.
Deleted scenes, laser.
Hey guys, do you remember that one time this season we were filming? We had these crazy. Cutter walked in, and he thought it was his line, and Hayden started talking.
Tyler, you
dude, I
shouldn't call
remember
Jews
that.
that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Well, here it is.
Jink.
One boys. We should change our name every season.
What up? Coming at you from the cellar. We're the Wine Boys.
Wine boys.
We're just wine boys doing what wine boys do.
Drinking up red. Moscato's okay. Blonde boys do. What blonde boys do.
So I was thinking today for the show that we just have like an hour-long moment of silence.
Okay. We can do an hour-long rain dance in silence.
No,
Dude.
thank you. It's been fucking storming as fuck here. I mean, I don't know about.
Oh,
up
really?
there.
How many rain dances have you been doing?
You need to
Lots.
stop, dude.
I've watched that like
Stop the rain
3
dances.
times, and I had Heather watch it, and she was cracking up too. I was crying again watching it.
Of you, what you bullying me? Like,
Yeah,
y'all bullying
like,
me? Like, I'm going to a serious conversation. I look
like
up and you're like both like crying at me. I'm like, are you
like-
serious right now?
It's like idiot kids in a classroom.
I was
Well,
passionate
the
about my
lead
speech.
up to it was you set it up, and like you're going to all this detail and history about the Navajo Indians and the
Oh,
Apaches,
it's a part of it.
and then you're just like, so with that, like, there's just not as many people doing rain dances anymore, and we're like, okay, so what's the solution? You get mad and you go to do more rain dances. Like, what do you not get about this?
Have you not listened to my entire speech? The Navajo have been eradicated and decimated, and there's nobody to do the rain dances.
Fuck.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
hardest I've laughed in a while. God
Some
damn.
random girl in Coachella accidentally does one every year, but that's about it. You know, 'cause she's on LSD. That's the closest we got to it anymore.
That's-
I don't
yeah.
know. Like
Them and witches, I think they might have some sort of rain spell.
Crystals.
Crystals.
I don't know. I met a girl in college that offered to brew me a love potion. She was Wiccan, I believe. Is that
Okay.
the right?
Cool.
Is that the right thing?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, man, it's just like I wonder how much effort goes into doing those spells and stuff. It's just like, man.
It's fascinating. I think Wicca.
I mean,
gets
oh, I think so too. Because I think at the base of it, it's like I mean, you probably are. I mean, I don't know very much about it at all, other
it's
than
just like
like it
nature,
probably makes you more
respect-
naturally in tune. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that didn't seem like that big of a deal at all.
Okay,
It's
tell
like-
y'all an embarrassing secret. Well, it's not that
Please.
embarrassing. Heather and I have done a full-on spell before, like
Really?
burnt stuff. Just tried to see. We didn't really believe in it that much, so nothing happened. I don't know.
What spell did you?
I can't remember. Something for like
Invoke.
wealth
Shitty
and
one.
prosperity or something like that. You
Oh,
know,
okay,
or like,
cool.
but well, I don't know. Well, 6 years later, we're buying a house, so hey.
That's true. That's true.
It worked, but it was like you get these 4 elements and put them like north, south, east, and west, and
Like
like
on a grid.
water has to go in a certain one. You get in there, and then you like line this circle and make these designs and do it. We watched Practical Magic and then wanted to do a spell, like not even lying.
Okay, gotcha. Have y'all ever done a Ouija board?
Yeah, it's never worked.
No, because I never had friends that did it, and it just
Right.
never seemed like it. Kind of always seemed like it seemed like something like you did in middle school, and I was like past it by the time like I got older. It was
Right.
like
Yeah, I've never even seen one. I don't know anybody who has one. But I'm honestly a little bit scared to do it if I ever chose to. That's kind of like I want to believe that nothing will happen, that it's all just a fucking Hasbro game, right?
Yeah.
But like, what if it's not? And what if you open a gate to hell? Like,
that may be the skeleton key kind of fucked with me on that concept of
oh
like,
yeah, for
you
sure.
don't believe in it until you like it doesn't work
Until it
until you
fucking
believe in
happens.
it, and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, like yeah.
Mhm.
We made one once because like we looked up and said you can make it. We made it on a mirror and did it.
A
And
Ouija board?
my friend EJ was over and we just messed with him
Okay.
and made it say like,
Spell out
are you
EJ.
bad? Like, yes. Like, are you evil? Like, yes, and stuff
Oh,
like that.
shit.
He was freaking out. But
Eek. Thanks. Well, thank you.
it was just, I guess, in retrospect, it's pretty mean. But
Well, actually, you know what's always fascinated me was the concept of like those like. So my grandpa used to talk about this was like black magic parties,
mhm.
Okay.
and as far as like, so you have like kind of like a party, and you get to like show like some people know a few like black magic tricks or something like that. Where and here's the thing, I don't even know what that would even be about. If it's just like some people know some cool illusion magic or what, but there's all this stuff like a guy could make a table spin on his finger, you know, that like lighter than a feather, stiff as a board kind of stuff, you know, it was stuff like that and everything. But it's just like you'd have a party and that would be like the theme.
It's kind of cool.
It is pretty cool.
It makes me think of like those old like Victorian parties where they used to do like mummy unwrappings. Like you literally would go buy a mummy and then like that would,
or that was a thing.
Oh man, there's a whole like history on it. It's just like they would literally, you'd buy a mummy from Egypt because they started raiding the tombs,
Right.
and it was just like, and so they had all this just, I mean, like just the quantity of the stuff that was in Egypt, and they had all kinds of like you could buy a mummy like off the street, and it was just some random dude had it, you know, and so you buy it and you take it wild. And you would do an unwrapping party. So like you would buy if there was a sarcophagi, you probably could afford that, and you'd buy that too. And then, like, that would be your party thing. Like, you'd all get kind of drunk, and then it's like, okay, guys, we're fixing to do the unwrapping. And you begin to unwrap the mummy.
What a bad trip, dude.
I am so down for that. Oh, my God.
It sounds like such a crazy, fucking, like, thing to do. So, do you know, so another kind of cross out of that is the origin of the color mummy brown. So, mummy brown was a very popular paint color around that time as well, that was literally made from the grinding up remains of mummies. And it really was, and it was kind of like, just like, it was kind of rumored to be that way, but it actually was. And when that actually got out, it kind of became a thing. Like a bunch of artists actually buried their paint in their gardens or their yards or whatever, out of respect for it. But we literally were just like, hey, you can't get this shade of brown without getting a rotten corpse. It was like, that's like a freaking nuts like concept to me.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. But here we are. I mean, like, you know.
If I die, I want to be mummified, and I want you to make paint out of me.
Oh, you're so deep.
It's my last request.
If I have enough money, I want to be turned into a record.
That'd be
I'm
cool.
going to be pressed into a record.
What do you want, song?
I thought you said a record. I was just like, you want to see like a monster truck out of you?
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah.
Put my skull on the monster truck.
Afternoon Delight.
What's that one huge monster truck that everyone knows?
Gravedigger.
I can't remember the name of. Gravedigger.
Gravedigger, yeah.
Yeah, I want to be Gravedigger.
Somebody somewhere wants to be the hood ornament on a monster truck when they
literally
die. Like no doubt, like no doubt, like
me into like a little figurine of myself.
Yeah, put me on the hood record and just drive me through some cars. That's how I want to go out. It's just like I can respect that. You know? Better Mad Max.
I don't know what song. I mean, probably be like a Rush song, knowing me. Can't tell.
Slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass, man. Sound like a leprechaun. Yeah, I don't know. What would y'all's song be on your death record?
Either something really meaningful or something really random.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
Like, okay.
I
want my.
Where'd you get those peepers? Where'd you get those eyes?
I want my death song to be the national anthem.
Yeah, right. Just something. You just store it. Just like that.
I want it to be like "Oh Canada."
Right. I would like to do an audiobook. I think that'd be a cool way, because I think that's just something like you really get like an impression of somebody from like
of like you narrating. That'd be wild.
But it'd be like, it's like, I feel like the whole like premise and stuff like wears out over generations. So like, it's like by the time like my grandkids are like, that's like, yeah, we fucking hate this record. It's terrible.
It's so boring. It's like a stack of like 10 records. My granddad's like scattered throughout this whole. Take it. I don't want it.
We've lost 3 of the.
That's crazy. I really did not like the Joe Rogan podcast at all. Like, I didn't really like his persona. The only thing I knew him from was from Fear Factor, and I was like, okay, whatever. It's like, I wasn't into his comedy. As I've listened to the podcast, I really vibe with, like, not him per se, but his podcast for sure. I like the thing that he's creating. I don't agree with him on a lot of shit, but.
No, I don't necessarily agree with him, but I do like that he admits, like, he said, I'm not smart. I just memorize what other smart people say. And I say it. He's like, I don't know about this, but he has.
But he's talking to those people, and he's having
people that know
this channel of communication.
Are experts in the area that can clarify things and give better information. And he's curious, and he's not afraid to ask questions. Yeah.
The best thing that he's done is made it like popular to be malleable to logic, which is like the best
I think
impact you could have on humanity. I mean, frankly, like it's cool to be like introspective now. You know, I mean, like this thing, and it's like, God, what else could you fucking ask for?
Or to admit, like, okay, I'm wrong. Like that makes more sense. Like, okay, we can go with that, and let's build from there.
And like you said, like I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong and shit like that. It's like, God, if only like you could like make a religion out of that, that'd be fucking awesome.
Which is funny because I did not get that vibe from him at all until I listened to the podcast. I was like, this is just some macho fucking dude who I would assume like drives a huge truck and shoots a bunch of guns and blah 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 blah. Like just making grand assumptions about him just based on what I assumed. Right?
Well, a funny thing now is that people think that like a part of his following thinks he's too mainstream now.
Yeah.
See, and that's
which is it's funny to me, but at the same time, you kind of like they're like, yeah, because like Joe has gotten out of touch with like what the fucking world is, because he lives in Hollywood and eats elk steak and like lives this different life than people, and he's like kind of gotten like too out of touch with like his fan base and what they're about, and I'm just like, Joe Rogan has gotten like Joe Rogan's not Joe Rogan enough for you anymore, or something like that. Like it's kind of like a funny thought, but it's just
Joe
like,
Rogan.
Joe's just not himself, man. I know Joe. I've listened to him for 4 years.
I think he's like the most Joe he's ever.
It's just like, and it's just like,
this is what he's not doing it, and I think that's one important thing. It's not doing it for the fans to an extent, but he's also doing it for himself. Like he wants people.
I think he's genuinely curious about everything that he talks about on the podcast.
Yeah. But you also have to, I think within it, you have to accept that. I mean, like part of it's like, Joe is going to selfishly pursue what he wants to know kind of in it.
Right.
And I'm not going to like, and like you kind of think it's just like, it's his fucking show,
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I just didn't like what he said on his show today. And you go, in the show that you love for him saying whatever he wants, you didn't like what he said, so you're mad.
You're criticizing it.
It's just like what do you want? Like you can't be happy. You can't just have him agree with everything you want all the fucking time.
Right.
Happy. And it's just like I hate when Joe has someone on the show and he's not a tough, harsher interview about him. I go, but that would defeat the purpose of the whole fucking thing you like about him, and shit like that. But.
And
it cracks me up that there's an old Joe fan base. The Joe's on him. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
I feel like I don't agree with him on a lot of shit, and I don't like how he approaches certain things. But that is what kind of keeps me coming back to it, because I'm like, oh, I wonder what this conversation was like, or I wonder what he thought about this, or what he had to say about that. I think some of his shit isn't like. I don't know. I think I'm making this assumption incorrectly, but it's just based on the types of people that I know who listen to the Joe Rogan podcast.
I think it's like it's a popular outside view looking in thing. I mean, frankly, as far as a lot of people are caught in it. So, what do you?
Well, I think also a lot of people take his thoughts and assume it's very like red pill, like very hyper masculine. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong in what I'm saying, but I think like the general consensus of the people that listen to him consistently are very just like trying to be macho man, like I'm right, you're wrong, blah blah blah. You don't listen to the facts, you don't blah blah blah. But that's not reflective of his podcast at all. I don't think.
Yeah,
I
I
think that
think
his podcast is very balanced and fair and like has actually interesting conversations, but people morph it into this thing that it's not and make it like you know how Rick and Morty fans used to say, or probably still say,
too
like, you have to
smart.
have a high IQ or whatever, right? Like it's sort of that gatekeeping aspect. It's like, oh, you don't fucking get it, bro. Like you just don't think for yourself. But I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and so I believe everything that Joe Rogan says, and that makes me into this homogenous like fan base that's super annoying.
Makes me
I don't.
superior.
Yeah,
Are you
exactly.
saying,
I
Hayden, are you
think-
implying that, yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
I think the majority of his fan base are actually like hippies, like with
Okay.
the hippie mentality of like stoners who are interested in like quantum physics and stuff like that, because he has a lot of
Yeah, like
physicists on there, and
astrophysicists.
he talks
Yeah.
about DMT all the time. So like people that are into psychedelics and learning more about the universe, I would say that's probably the majority of his fan base, because it's really the only source out there that talks as openly about
See,
DMT
and that's
and
not
drugs.
the people that I know
Okay.
that listen to it. But that makes sense because he's a huge advocate for psychedelics and DMT.
But he has a
which
huge
makes sense.
fan base that are hunters, because he always talks about hunting and killing elk. He has a huge
Right.
UFC fan base, which are going to be
And he
those
has another podcast
tap
about
out
that.
shirts and everything, wearing people that are into it.
Right.
So I think he's really, his reach has
Is
gone to
huge.
so many places that he has a huge fan base that's really a conglomerate and really eclectic with all these different types of
sure.
personalities.
And I do really like his show. Like legit
Well, it's
more and more.
frankly-
The
it's
more I watch it, I
entertaining,
really
yeah.
like it. Yeah.
He does a lot of
But-
ads now, but I guess that's necessary. He has to do it, like promotions,
part
and
of,
but it's built into like the conversation, you know, of like
Right.
him
No, and
talking
at least
about
it is.
manscaping tools or anything. And it's not like, hey, buy this, but he needs to fund the podcast somehow in order to keep doing it and keep paying his guests to come on. So it's
You can't really hate
That's
him for
alright.
making money off of his fucking
His
the number
dream.
one podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
his
It'd be
one of
impossible
those
for
things.
him to make it. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's kind of but at the end of the day, though, I mean, it's like kind of like you're both completely right on it. But Hayden that absolutely has a valid perspective on it, because Joe Rogan has found this fucking awesome niche that went like kind of undiscovered for a long time. As far as there was it's this kind of the modern man thing. And it's great because it's something that I struggled with growing up. But as far as being from like a small town, being like a redneck small community, there's a search and need to be masculine in the modern world. But with being a young masculine person, you also want to be really fucking cool. And let's be real, all the coolest shit is like liberal left and shit like that. And so Joe
At least
filled
these days it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's just as far as like growing up, like, you know, like, what do you want? You need to live in the fucking mountains by yourself and hunt and eat your own meat. I mean, you could be the most masculine guy ever, but it's just like, that's not fucking cool. I don't want to do that. And he goes, and Joe Rogan's like, you can be fucking masculine and cool and smoke weed and hang out and like do all this other cool shit. And so he filled this like awesome role of like being like I can be masculine and cool too. I had no idea that was a fucking.
I don't have to be like this toxic,
and
hyper macho
and
thing.
Exactly. And so Rogan fills this awesome thing of like, there is no doubt. I mean, as far as like, I did Fear Factor, I do jujitsu, and I fucking do UFC commentary. No doubt that I am a manly person. But I have emotions and thoughts too, and can be receptive to feelings. And there's so many fucking guys out there that are really just caught up in the traditional toxic masculinity.
Totally,
like
100%.
That are just like, fuck, I like feeling too. I fucking love Joe Rogan, you know. And he goes, yeah, but it's one of those things. But it's just a set, because you got like rednecks who are just like, you know, it's just like, my dad hates Joe Rogan. He thinks he's too fucking hippie, but I like smoking pot and I have some emotions too, and I like that guy, and he hunts elk, and there's nothing wrong with liking that guy, you know, because he hunts elk like me, you know. But it's just, he found that awesome niche of like kind of a budding modern masculine movement or whatever, and it's fucking great because it's like, I mean, because there's definitely a search out there for that thing, because it's just like
For sure.
it's so driven hard in the dirt into like the traditional way and stuff like that, and it was just like, oh man, he made it cool to be a guy again without being like my dad, or some shit like
Right.
that. And I think
For
it's
sure.
just cool because I mean, again, and like you said, there are a lot of people out there who have no personality and don't have any like opinion, and they're like, well, Joe Rogan said that, so that must be the cool way, and they just and that's what they think, and that's the bad, and that's I think it's part of it is like, because like his show is really good, but a part of that is because it's so popular. You naturally get like you're gonna have the annoying fan base, and that's some of the annoying
who
fan
are
base
typically the loudest about it and want to spout
always.
their opinions.
Well, Joe said this, so I agree with this. And you're just like, fuck you and fuck Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of natural.
Those are the
like,
people.
You
Those are the
wouldn't be like
people
that, but it's just like, but it's
that they don't actually take the time to sit and think deeply about things and form their own opinion. So anybody that says it in anything in a confident and direct and concise manner, they think, okay, that sounds good. That has to be fact. I'm not going to think about this anymore. And now I'm going to take that, I'm going to replicate that, and I'm going to shove it down people's throats to make myself feel superior about it.
And then you have an echo
people
chamber
do that
of
with
the same
everything.
thing,
Yes.
going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, everybody reinforcing everyone.
Yeah.
And then you all believe the same thing. You don't really know why. Like you're just repeating what everyone else is saying. Then you don't listen to anybody else because it's not what you've listened to before. You're like, well, fuck that, because that's not what I believe. Well, why do you believe it? You know.
Yeah.
And there's
this guy
like
said
you said, Fowler.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, oh, that feels good. That must be right. And then there's
Yeah.
a huge correlation. And then it goes, oh, that feels good. That sounded good on the eardrums. That must be correct.
Ooh,
that didn't challenge any of my beliefs. So right
must
on.
Be right.
Must be right. It's just like, but it's just one of those things. It's just like, yeah, you can't help. But yeah, there's definitely people who do that.
I've had this theory for a while that so you go to the news or you look on whatever information gathering website you look at and you see somebody's perspective on something. And then whatever next source you go to that says something different than what that one said, you tend to believe that one. You know what I mean?
Oh, because you're just
really?
Well, it's almost like you have. So you're like, okay, so you have all these. And this is what I think I've always told, like my sister and me, her talking about this last weekend. We're like, so the only thing more dangerous than a dumb person is a dumb person that thinks they're smart. Yeah. And so that's what you do. So you're just like, oh, the headlines are saying this. I don't believe that. And then you find the next headline that says like, hey,
something
this
you
want
might
be
to
wrong.
say.
And you're like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Yeah, that's what I meant.
For sure.
And you blindly, dumbly believe that second thing. And you're just like,
it's either the second thing you look at, or it's the thing that is what you agree with already. So like,
it's
hyper-conservative
that trigger in you. Yeah, and it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like that. And that's what the worst part about the information era is, that there's somebody in the modern world, and all 8 billion of us, gets paid to write something that you feel about. Yeah. And you go and you just search for it, and you're just like, "Bing, that's what I like." And you like whatever
you get validation for it because it was written.
You can find A said this and he was wrong, and then you can find another story that said A was proven wrong, but he's actually right. And then you can, like you said, then you go to the third thing, and go, well, A was right on a few things. And you're like, "Yep, that's what I thought too." And you're just like, and you're just as dumb as A and B, on it. The first two stories, you're just like, I knew there was something kind of in between. The truth is always in between the lines. And you're just like, and that's just as dumb as anything else you would say,
Yeah.
But,
and it's certainly not productive. You're not actually learning anything. You're not pinpointing the truth. That's one thing I've had to I've struggled with in my life, honestly, is like taking a side on certain shit. Because I can always like be the devil's advocate or give somebody the benefit of the doubt on certain issues, but there's some shit you cannot compromise on. Like you can't say, oh, well, the police are justified in what they're doing with all their riots right now. You can't fucking say that.
Well, I think that's important
not.
Too. Well, I think that's a healthy,
but that's like your opinion,
logical way of looking at it. Like, so like you said, I can be the devil's advocate and I can look at this other side, and then I can form an opinion that I'm like, I could completely support. I think that's just a normal, healthy way of looking at things. Frankly, at the end of the day, it's just like, like, and it's just like, and that's how everyone should look at that. I mean,
yeah.
like, well, duh. It's just like, God damn.
That's why
You're not always like wishy-washy, nihilistic about shit. Like it just makes your life and how you think. So
Imagine being wrong all the time, like all the fucking time. Like that would so suck. You know, like,
yeah, you have to take a stance on something at some point,
or else
but
you literally don't believe in anything. Like there's nothing for you to stand for.
You have to understand that you aren't like concreted into that.
Valid
that
point.
you
for
can
sure.
you can move, but you want to at least stand up for something if you believe in it,
or believe something until you have proof that you shouldn't believe that thing. Right?
Exactly.
Like believe in something different if it's true, and if it's correct, then adapt what you currently believe.
Is it a choose your battle thing, or is it just like do you choose some beliefs and
Maybe
that's just your identity? Because I think that's a part of your identity, some beliefs, right? Like you have to have something
you have
at the end of the day.
like choose your battles, and like the stuff that is worth fighting for, that I think like humans collectively would agree is important.
Yeah,
like murder of innocent,
but I think
rape,
like,
anything like that.
It goes back to what we were saying about malleability of thought. Like you just have to understand that there will be new information about whatever you're looking into. Like if you're looking at I don't know what the next Xbox is going to be, right? But so you believe it's going to be this one thing, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's new information. Okay, I now believe it's going to be either good or bad, right? Like I don't know any gay people, so I think gay marriage is wrong. Then you meet a gay person who's married, and then you realize, oh, well, it's actually not that wrong. So like that, being able to change how you feel, have it be more fluid and not as concrete.
That's way more important than anything.
That's the key to it, though, is that you have to actually put yourself in positions in order to be challenged. Because if you always just hang out with people and have conversations where everybody agrees on something without starting a conversation that could be challenged, then you're just going to be blissfully ignorant, and you're going to go through life thinking that everything you think is correct because you're not going to be challenged. And
you're going to search out things that reinforce what you already believe.
Exactly.
And then the echo chamber keeps echoing.
Yeah.
Now, it's naturally a hard balance, I guess you could say, between not solidifying your beliefs but being strong enough to like stand up for something, right?
Right. I think
yeah.
I feel like the first word that comes to mind is agnostic, right? Like people who want to believe in something but don't have the proof to believe in it, you know? Yeah. Like,
and you always like it because and that's what I'm trying to think. It's just like that's always been appealing to me as far as a term for religious belief, as far as like atheist almost is kind of like too hard blind to be like taking a true stand.
Like they can't prove it either.
It's almost it's almost as bold as a stance. It's just like hey, we don't have everything figured out either, and you're kind of pissing off the lava god right now. I'm like, but at the same time, it's just like, but I like the idea of being like, I don't know, and it's just like, it's like it's just like I just don't. I mean, in the cosmos of everything, it's like I just don't know. I don't. I have this. I know how this works, but I don't know. And guess what? I'm not gonna know. And I'm gonna accept that I don't know. There's something kind of like I think there's something better in that humility of like I just don't know.
I think the key word is actually balance. Having a balance of skepticism and doubt,
confidence,
but also confidence in the ability to articulate an argument and have reason for it, not just because I want to be right, but then accepting when somebody can articulate an argument better or just has new information that you didn't have and can prove it, and going, okay, like,
right. Because if you deny it, if you take that, there's new information that would improve how you think about a certain thing. If you choose to not accept it, you're just ignorant. Like that's illogical.
I mean, it just feels like you're just like I mean, to me, it's just like you're just stuck as far as like progress and anything would go ever. You're just you now. You're just
not
like
helping.
You're an object of your beliefs, and you're just you now. And it's just like, and so you'll fight for fucking you for whatever. And it's just like that's just a weird, selfish cause to take as far as
like who are you trying to prove,
right? And it's as far as and especially like in the modern age of the information age, where it's like. It's like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know everything. Bitch, go to Google for 5 seconds. You don't know everything. You know what it is as far as, I mean, you don't know anything. I mean, and it's just...
But so many people assume they do. So many people assume they have everything.
And it's almost just like, God, it's so frankly bold for you to assume that you do. You fucking... Yeah.
And how that's scary to think about on an individual level, that people can have that. But it's just like anything else, where that if it's happening so much on an individual level, it's happening on a global scale or a collective level. And that's where you get all of these crazy movements and crazy laws and crazy ideologies coming forward, where like religion, or you have these groups of people believing these one things and moving forward steadfast and unwavering, digging their heels into the ground on anything else that comes their way, and just kind of destroying everything else and blocking everything else out. Because that's also one of the main tenets of like most religions, as any outside force that's telling you something different is evil. It's evil. It's Satan. Not just rejected, but it's bad. It's temptation to move outside
almost
of that.
Counter of you,
so people are scared, which is one of like the most crazy, interesting control mechanisms with religion. Is that's how you keep the sheep in the flock. And I hate that when people call people sheep or sheeple.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was intentional, but it's the way that it's evolved.
It's a sadly good analogy, because it's comfortable. And the sad thing is that modern humanity, one of the hardest things to get away from, one of the hardest addictions to break, that is not ever talked about, is comfort. Because we talk about, because we strive almost to break this comfort and this struggle of our ancestors and everything, but it's just like, to be uncomfortable is almost just like, why would you ever want that? Even modern like views of it, like the most modern like humanitarian view of it, it's like, I think being uncomfortable is good for humans. It's like, no, it's not. Like, no one would think the struggle is good for us, because we're not at that point yet. Because there's so much struggle right now. To be a counter against it, you have to be against it. I mean, against any kind of struggle. But so it's understandable. But frankly, being uncomfortable is good for a human being. It's good to be uncomfortable. It's good to experience, to stress it, because it's frankly, I think beliefs. I'm a big proponent of evolution, not eugenics or anything like that, but evolution. As far as I think evolution is a very natural process of survival of the fittest, of whether that be beliefs, ideas, or organisms. I really enjoy that concept, because I think it's just a very natural. There are not a lot of things you can control, but that idea and concept is understandable at the very least, So if your idea isn't strong enough to survive and gets beat out by something else, I can't tell you if it's morally right or wrong, but that's just what happened to it. And so
exactly.
I think that's just a thing but with evolution, I think you have kind of accept that we definitely cradle ourselves in modern society on comfortable ideas, comfortable outlooks. It's nice to be able to save everything. It's a nice thought to be able to be good and be this and be this and this, but we're not there yet.
That's why I believe so many people are Christian, is because it's something that was just given to them. Or I don't want to say Christian, but I'm just saying that specifically because of where I'm from and the people that I knew and how I was raised. It is so easy to just be Christian. It's harder to not be Christian in some situations, like especially being all from Texas, from conservative areas, the majority is Christian. So for you to be contra is harder. Even though what you believe might be more correct, it doesn't matter given your situation, because you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, which is good for you, but nobody else is. So you're having to fight everyone against you.
And I think absolutely comfort is the addiction, like you said, but complacency is the disease that comes from it.
That's really
comfortable and you get complacent. But just like you said, the struggle, adversity is what pushes us and makes us better. No one would ever grow or evolve, or evolution wouldn't happen if there wasn't adversity to some sense. And so when you put yourselves in uncomfortable situations, like when you go and you have a conversation with someone with an opposing view, while it's a really uncomfortable thing, especially to have your thoughts analyzed, you won't grow and you won't change beyond that. And people think that's a bad thing, but it's not. It's one of the healthiest, most beneficial things that we can do for ourselves and that we can do for others.
It's a weird thing to accept too, because it's a weird thing to accept a struggle and to even justify that you have to go through a struggle, to the point that I think it's just like and I think that's what people to add to Hayden's point, I think, is that Christianity, what I saw in my small community was it's not it's not necessarily something that well, actually, it's kind of what you said. It glorifies the struggle because people in those communities struggle anyway. They struggle as far as they're struggling. I'm not saying like it's necessarily like they have a bad life, but they struggle as far as like
just like human stuff.
believe that they work harder and struggle more than somebody in a city or somebody who has something given to them, for example. And the Christianity belief rewards you for your struggle. So what I saw a lot in my community was it was a justification for the struggle. Yes, we're poorer than most people. Yes, we're not hip and we don't have the most technological lives, but that's all okay because we're going to get rewarded in heaven more for it.
That's
and we're
interesting,
Catholics, and if we were like those other people, we'd be less Catholic, which would be even worse for us. So why even try to even be like that? And it just in kind of like what Tyler said, it justified your complacency. Sadly, I mean, and even you would call it like a not really like a kind of a side effect of it, really, not like an intended effect by any means, but it was definitely there's definitely a side effect. And
how many people leave your town?
I mean, there's there's a huge in my class, particularly my generation, a lot because we moved to that town. But there is a large number of people who are tied to the community that stay within that community.
And they'll never leave.
And not saying, and you can't really degrade them for it, but at the same time, you know that you cannot say that those people there would have had more opportunities if they had left, but they stayed because it was comfortable. And not that it's a bad thing to seek comfort, because obviously that's something that humans want to do and love to do. But as we've kind of talked about, comfort can be a bad thing because it leads to complacency, which frankly can lead to weakness in us, and we can just become less than we are by being comfortable.
But what about the people that stay there their entire lives? They'd only talk to the same 10 people every week, and they're the best person that you have ever met. Just solid, good people, wouldn't hurt anybody, wouldn't say a bad word about anybody, and is just content with their lives. At the same time, I don't see anything wrong with that.
No,
I think they're happy with their life and they've lived a fulfilling life.
I cannot hate on anybody for being content with their lives, because as far as like, I think ambition within itself is kind of a curse within itself, but it's a moving ambition within itself is an uncomfortableness inherited within us that just kind of drives us forward. I can't hate anybody that has conquered their ambition, and is happy without it.
Right.
Conquered their ambition. That's good. That's what they wanted, and they achieved it. They achieved it.
Because you said that, some people would say, "Oh, they're simple and they just don't have any drive in their heads." Like, no, I think they conquered their ambition. I think that as far as their natural drive to do things, they have satisfied it, and they continue to satisfy it. And if they hadn't, they would have moved on to something else.
I think
so it's just kind of, it's whatever you want to think on it. Yeah.
Right. I would say that's super admirable. Like, all of that, I have no problem with at all. If you're content with your life because you're fulfilled, you can't ask for more than that, really. Yeah. But if you know you could do better for yourself and you're choosing not to, I think that's the problem. I think if you know that you're not living up to your potential, and because I know a lot of people like that, like super fucking smart, had a lot going for them, whatever happened, like had a kid or made some life-altering mistake or whatever, and then just stayed at home, didn't challenge themselves from then on out. They were traumatized from whatever happened, and then they just become this lesser version of themselves, and they know it. That's sad. That's
the majority of the time those people are unhappy and very depressed or have a lot of anxiety.
They've suffered for it. Like I said, I mean,
and it's their response. I think it is every individual's responsibility in order to take care of themselves and their own life. And if you want something better or see something better, to take responsibility for it and have the self-motivation in order to go get it. Now, that is way easier said than done, because it's a very difficult fucking thing.
Well, frankly, but it's just, I guess I just don't necessarily support having it, as far as like just, you should have it all done for you if there is frankly a way to do it. Everyone has to grow through, I guess, some form of something.
Yeah.
And I just, if you had all the resources and all the ability in the world to do it, and you could cradle the human race, I don't think that'd be good for it. At the end of the day,
Right.
I mean, if you could do it in the snap of a finger, and everyone would be good, everyone's going to be happy for the rest of their lives, would that be good for the human race? If you said if you could definitively tell me we reached our peak, yes. But if not, then I'm just like, then we have some ways to go, and we have a lot of fighting it out and figuring it out, whether it's blood, war, tears, or whatever the hell comes from it. We got to figure it out, but that's just.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
like,
that's from and that's from frankly from when I just say that's my belief as far as thinking about it philosophically wise and everything. That's a kind of almost a surrender, frankly, because there is no control of it. A surrender to the chaos of it, to the idea of the evolution that if there is going to be all this suffering in this, all this like that, at least something positive can come out of it. And
Right.
maybe that is kind of a primal form of a religion or something like that, but it's just a logical thing that I can at least follow that goes, well, it really sucks that those people died out and that this thing died out or this thing happened, but all the factors point to it happening, so first of all, you can't deny it happened, and then second of all, it's just like, well, you have to
It's
find
not
something good that
inherently
happened out of
bad.
it. It's,
Yeah.
I guess I can't, if you're gonna, and this is what I guess I took up when I was, because I really love animals and was always into biology and everything like that, but if you're really gonna be a student of biology, you have to accept that, hey, just the animals are gonna die.
life is harsh.
And the animals, life is a fucking cruel, bitter fucking mistress in everything, and it's just like, and a lot of things are looking at it at the big picture thing of like, man, these things are beautiful, and it's like, yeah, but
they're finite.
they couldn't adapt to this, so they died out. And all these ugly brown things that lived in the ground, well, they're fucking awesome because they fucking figured out a way to do it. And you have to look at the beauty in different things, and it's just a kind of a fact of it. But within that, as much as we love to talk about we're separate from animals like that, I don't really think we're all that, especially when it comes to like, our ideas and beliefs like that. So it's just like the only kind of, I guess it's a way that I can justify the chaos and bullshit in the world. It's just like, well, at the end of the day, it's a natural kind of osmosis and turn to and evolution of what we are. And the good news is I think that the good of humanity wins out, and frankly, has frankly survived out a lot more than the bad. But there's obviously some bad that still survives.
We're not done.
We have a long ways to go, and like I said, whether that's like a lot of fighting or bullshit we have to do, and there's a lot of differences of how we get to that final point. But it's just like, yeah, we have a lot of ways to go, and it's just like, and we're definitely not there yet. Yeah, this is the big.
Go back to what you said too about kind of what it made me think of is, if there is a utopian society, then that's great for human survival, but it's bad for the human spirit, or the metaphorical human spirit.
No, it is. I mean, I think as far as like, I mean, if you want humanity, if you think we're great right now, yeah, then put us on ice right now, because we'll never change and we'll keep society the same. But I think a lot of people right now will say, no, society's not good for me right now. And the thing about humanity that I've always admired, that is thing that's not talked about within the fictional characters that we create within our imagination, is the pure chaos of humanity. As far as every great story is that everything is going howdy doody and then this happened. That's every great story every human ever fucking told. And the best part about it is that the lead character of the story is a fucking human. That is the chaotic factor in that, and it's somebody, I'm frustrated with life going so well. And that is a wonderful and amazing evolutionary component of humanity that, I mean, and it's probably found in lots of animals like that, but whatever, that mental drive of being is that you will have a perfect society of 1,000 people, and 950 of them will be for it, and 50 of them in 3 generations will be like, yeah, I can do better for whatever reason. And my thing is that, hey, perfect society, if you're really perfect, you can stamp that shit out pretty quickly, right? But if those 50 can make 80, make 100, make 400, make 500, and make a civil war, then your fucking perfect society is a natural form of evolution, didn't deserve to survive anyway, and it's just going to go bad. But that's what I love about humanity is that there is a chaotic factor to every fucking thing. If you have 100 humans, you line up for all for this, a generation takes place, and it's just like, no, I don't like all of this. And I don't know why that is, but it's a constant need to improve, a constant thing, maybe a thing that needs to be stamped out. It's great.
Do you think that key word, because I think something that we often associate or just think is implicit with evolution is that it's improving, but the key term I think is just adapting and changing. So just because we're changing doesn't mean that we're getting better.
No. The key word is changing when it comes to evolution. The key word is changing.
And so if that's the case, then there is no end goal. There isn't something that we could evolve into. It's just going to keep going and going and going and keep changing. It might be worse, it might be better, but it's always going to be something happening and something different. Even I think if we got to a utopia, it wouldn't last long. Like you said, everything's going all peachy, hunky-dory, and then boom.
Somebody leave. I'm tired of hunky-dory. Leave.
Yeah.
And they make something else.
Yeah. I'm going to mix Mentos with Coke.
But
just to stir it up.
That's really the downfall of society is when we started putting Mentos and Coke. I knew something.
It was.
What are you writing, Hayden?
I'm
just doodling. Just doodling shapes and shit.
Oh my god! I was expecting.
I've expected S's.
I was thinking of this. It's always sunny, and it's just like it's just like the breast thing. It's just like
yeah.
I was very generous. I don't know if you know.
I think I'm going to post this whole conversation just unedited.
Do it.
It's a bonus.
Not bad.
Hold on. I'm
gonna
get a little more wine.
It's an honest conversation.
Hold up. You have to see my Super S.
Did you make a Super S?
I drew a Super S. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Super S is thick.
She dummy thick, bro. All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom and get more wine, too. BRB.
I love this. But not me. Thank you, Alan Grant.